we need to exterminate certain potential threats. Like I was saying, it's a pretty unpopular subject, but we put every fighting chance that we got. As much as we do, it seems like a never-ending war. We're constantly doing treatments of not only our carbon monoxide treatments, but we've tried trapping and stuff like that. What happens is it's a park environment. From 6 a.m. to sunset, there's people there. There's dogs there. There's children there. There's every type of life there enjoying and having fun. In truth, that's what it's for. But the reality is we can't do certain activities while we have the public there, while we have pets there. Certain bait stations attract pets, and we can't necessarily have bait stations out for the danger of if you're a lover of pets like I am, I don't want my pet going near a bait station. It's very difficult. We're going to keep fighting and keep trying to change policy so that we can use new techniques or techniques we used to use that are kind of feared of now. The reality is it's a sore subject, and we need to, along with our citizens and our policymakers, kind of re-educate people and make them aware that this is the reality of the situation. Now we can sit back and kind of just let it develop, or we can take progressive action and kind of try and nip it in the bud, so to speak.
Adriel, would a lot of phone calls to this number do anything?
You mean like crash the system? Is that what you're saying?
No, complaining. Broken ankles.
Well, it'll definitely make people aware of situations. The reality is, like I was saying earlier, there are things that we can take care of right away. There are things that we can't take care of right away. The reality of me taking 50 yards of dirt out to a park and leveling out all the holes is unrealistic considering the amount of staff I have. It's one of those battles that's it's definitely difficult. It's not something that's going to happen overnight, but I think with continued push from citizens such as yourself, telling our council members that these are things that we need. Some of these parks I have in my areas have a 30 to 40-year-old infrastructure. I've pulled out pieces of pipe that are completely pitted and basically of no use. They're unrecognizable as irrigation pipe. I have gophers chewing through my irrigation lines. There's infrastructure there that is so ancient that it's hard to keep even that up, let alone deal with the issues that we're having with rodent abatement and things like that.
We're connected to the Park Advocates in San Jose, Gene Dresden.
Mm-hmm. So the reality is your calls would help. I don't recommend calling and saying, hey, my kid broke his ankle if it shouldn't really happen,
right.
But definitely say, call and say, hey, the field is in bad condition. Once again, we're going to be made aware of it. Once that list of open work orders gets long enough, eventually people have to do something about it. I'd like to tell you that it's something that I wish I could just make it disappear. But the reality is it's going to be a lot of years before a lot of our fields are back to the condition that they were pre our rodent abatement problems.
We gotta move along.
Okay, so could you use some help filling holes and doing stuff in some of these parks?
Definitely. Thank you for bringing it up, Herb. We count on help from citizens such as yourselves to join our volunteer groups, join the LPNA, go out there and help whenever you can. We work in conjunction with the LPNA, so Herb keeps me abreast of a lot of things that are going on at the parks. I cannot keep my eye on all of the facilities that we watch, so we depend on citizens such as yourself to keep us informed as well. So if you guys can go out there, help us fill holes, help us even treat for gophers. I have neighbors in the MFPA association that go out there actively and use our Gopher X equipment to get rid of the gophers. Help us in any means that you can. Think globally, act locally. If there's something you can do in your neighborhood, picking up a piece of litter in the picnic area. I mean, we take any help we can get.
We'll take on a special project, LPNA, I think, for our park. Based on what you're saying.
Molly has cleaned up the plan, so
Okay.
post some things about those.
Okay. Well, thank you, folks. I hope you guys have a good night.
next is Manny Kata, Department of Transportation, to update us on local activities that he's been working on.
All right, report for the Department of Transportation, specifically the Infrastructure Maintenance Division. So essentially as transportation, everything within the normal right-of-way, which essentially comes from the back of walk, sidewalk, pavement, median islands, to the other back of walk on the other side of the road, and everything in between that. So that's usually the area that Department of Transportation works within, although there's some exceptions to that as well. So I specifically work in the contractual maintenance for landscape and street sweeping for residential streets. But I did reach out to other partners in my division to find out some more information for you guys too. First, I'm going to kind of address some of the things that Greg specifically asked, and that was as far as the pavement repair along Santa Teresa. I did talk to our engineers, and they do have it on schedule. They're currently talking about 2020 to work on that section south of Bernal all the way up to Bayless. Again, it's scheduled. Again, we'll see how it turns out. Most likely, if I would recommend as the time comes up, and if you don't see anything going on out there, if you don't even see any marks, definitely call the department and say, hey, you know what? Where is this scheduled again? Because we still got another couple of years to go. It's part of a federal funding grant project, so it all takes that long to get actually scheduled and implemented. As far as some other things that we're working on, as you've seen, the street trees that are going up and down Santa Teresa, we're putting those in conjunction with the Arborist Office, OCF. We also did some mulch out there. We still had a little bit more to put out. As well as we did some rock and some enhancements to the median islands, and we're still working on the neighborhood signage as well. And that should be coming in shortly. We finally got everything dialed in, notified our supplier of the signs, and they're in the process of making them right now.
Sorry, can you back up? What signs are you
The
referring to?
neighborhood identification signs, the ones that are going to say Los Paseos, and I believe Avenida España. And they're going to be located on Santa Teresa and also on Bernal. And that was part of the PB bid items. And some other things. What else were? Oh yeah, and then we also have. We're going to be starting our renovation of the Paseos. As you know, some of the areas down here are in the special districts, MD1, and that is comprised of 3 different paseos, 1, 2, 3. We all call them different. The one that runs from Avenida España to Cheltenham, that's the one we're going to start working on, and we're hoping to complete that work within 2 months. Again, we have that scheduled. A contractor should be out there shortly and start demoing and preparing that for planting.
So what is that upgrade going to consist of?
So
What
what
work are
we're,
they going to be doing?
Jeremiah, you want to kind of give a,
Yeah, mainly
You want to get up?
the main purpose of the renovation started because that's one of the, well, it is the first special district that was built. So that was going on 40 years old now. So the irrigation system is very old, really hard to keep maintained well at this point. So in renovating it, it's going to be pretty much demoing everything except trees, running new irrigation, new controllers, new valves, new main lines, laterals, and then new plantings, like understory plantings. So it's going to be a little bit of a different style of planting than what's currently out there.
I was told that in the meeting 2 years ago that the plants are not going to be so crowded.
Correct.
They'll each individually look like something instead of crowded with trees together that turn into shrubs.
We went through a long process of planning. They're in groups. So it's when I say different type of planting, they're not like tall shrubs that need to be hedged, because right now it's a very labor intensive type of maintenance that's needed for that those
I got rid
areas.
of all that stuff in my yard
Right,
that has
so,
to be trimmed.
yeah, so everything that we're planting should be spaced more appropriately so that, we're not fighting the plants from each other, spending a lot of time out there. We should just be able to go through and pick up litter and blow off the pathways for the most part, and maybe come in and trim the plants a couple times a year.
The cement's gonna stay, right? You're not demoing the cement, are you?
No, we're not demoing all the concrete. We did actually put in the planning process, what we call the alternative bid items. We can't really afford to redo all of the concrete, but it is included in the design so that later on we have something to refer to if we want to come and do that separately. So it's not changing the design of the concrete at all. It would just be basically repair and replace as needed to remediate any tripping.
You guys are gonna update all the lighting, has that been done throughout the 3 Paseos?
Yes, that's complete.
Okay, so that was the one that Alan put in for that. With that, over by the park, and Dave, maybe you can help me with this, there's some lighting right by the pool area there, by the tennis courts. It has old lights in it. Now, is that park area or your area?
That's a park area.
Okay.
By the tennis courts.
Yeah, they have those round ones still there,
Right, yes.
so it'd be a park update then to do
Right.
those.
But when you start walking back into the community, once you pass the backstop of the school property, then you're on the Paseo.
Yeah, and you guys updated that lighting then?
Yes.
Okay.
When are they gonna do the other 2 sections?
Again, this is a long planned out idea of how to get those all across.
Yes, but
We went,
planned
the
for this
first,
for
first, the
years.
first idea was to get them designed, and we got those. And now it's just a matter of, one, staffing, that was probably the other issue, we kind of solved that problem. Now it's actually implementing. And we can only do so much time. Plus, at the same time, we only have so much funds based on through all of those. And unfortunately, when these were all planned was several years ago, and the prices have risen dramatically. All the landscape costs, what we originally estimated, have far exceeded every time we went out there. And cost anything through is by far much more expensive than we would.
We anticipated.
What was the consultant? There's 2 consultants that worked on it, and both consultants came in with these very conservative. Well, they were a little lofty at the time, but now, based on what they submitted, it's now becoming even way more than what they anticipated back then. So we will be working with Tom Morton. Tom Morton is a public works district administrator for the district. So what he's going to be doing, and I'm going to sit down. We already actually sat down already this year and try to plan out how are we going to get the rest of them done. And we will be essentially banging our heads together every year and planning these out accordingly. And once we have a full plan out of exactly what it was, we will definitely come back and speak to exactly when these will be.
So what I understand it correctly, we're looking at a many-year project?
Yes, it's going to be over the course of many, even if we had all the funding today, it's still going to be a multi-year process just because our staffing, we can't do all 3 of them all simultaneously. It's just way too much for our staff to do.
It's good to know, because I've been waiting to see what was gonna happen.
Manny, so can you use volunteers to do some of this work? I mean, just a few weekends ago, I moved 100 yards, chip wood, so I'm gonna ask you guys to look at a volunteer effort to go through those, maybe for the planning. Now, I know the contract work, we gotta use contractors, but for the planting, we might be able to get away with it. Reduce your overall cost of labor. I mean, if Parks can do it, you guys can do it.
Right. And that's something that we've been being approached a lot more by all the residents. So, and we're being reached out right now. We're trying to figure out a way that we can do that. So right now, me and my boss, we're trying to come up with a way that we can get your volunteer work in there, and at the same time, make sure it's safe for you and it also is a benefit to us. Because we definitely appreciate all your work, all your work that you want to do, and I'm sure that there's a way that we can make things work, some way, somehow, but again, because our transportation department never really kind of went down that path as far as getting volunteers and actually doing it, because we have a lot of liabilities when we're having work, even for our own staff. There's certain
I mean,
liabilities.
Park Sticks a sign a waiver thing, you guys can do it too, same damn form. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if we can sign off that, and okay, plant some plants for you guys, get the plants, we do it, and then, get the contractor work you need. I understand we have a unique contractor, and things that we need to do.
And that's something we're working on, and we will hopefully get that squared away within the next couple of months. And that's my goal, to personally try to get that done before then, so that we can start doing these partnership projects.
Well, when you start, then get one of us from the LPNA out there will help you.
Yeah.
With these
Let us
meetings.
know.
One of us will be out there to do it.
All right,
Okay?
I'll definitely take advantage of some of those opportunities.
Oh. They're coming from Morgan Hill, when you get up over to Larry Hill and start dropping back down into our area. There's been installed a traffic speed indicator. It's installed, but it's not running, so I was curious when it's gonna start operating.
Okay, that's our operations group to handle that, so what I'll do is I'll reach out to our operations staff and I'll get you an answer. Hopefully then. Yes,
Just north of Martin Murphy School, there's a tree on the median that is growing the roots into the roadway. And I'm wondering at what point does DOT actually do something about that? Because there's actually two trees that it's happening with. One's much worse than the other.
actually we do have that in a couple of places, and part of that is we have to coordinate that effort with pavement, because we can't just do it by
Right.
ourselves.
Right.
So typically what happens is when pavement comes through, we'll look at the trees and we'll do any root pruning as necessary, or even replace the tree. If it's to that point to where it's going way beyond what it should be, and it's beyond its mature size, and if there's some dead section of it, that just kind of compounds it, and we would probably replace it with another.
Okay.
Where is this exact location?
No, it's just south of Chantilly on
Oh, okay.
the northbound side.
And that's the area that I told you that they're going to do a pavement project probably in 2020. And that probably kind of give us kind of kick off to say, hey, let's look at those trees and see if we should replace any of those. And hopefully when the pavement project comes in, everything will be nice and long.
Yeah, because you can tell the one is a really old tree and it's just grown beyond its.
Oh, and then one other program that I wanted to highlight here is, I know Sean's been working on really putting a lot of time and effort on it, is the Beautify San Jose program. And that's the meters beautifying certain corridors and other areas. And we have currently Santa Teresa, all Santa Teresa included in that. So we've been doing, Sean's been doing a lot of improvements out there. I'm not sure if you've seen some mulch in certain areas, even in Blossom Hill, replacing a lot of trees. What else are?
We did do some rock, but I think it's still better.
Yeah. So, and that's all part of the Beautify San Jose in coordination with some of the things you guys are doing with the PD. So, is there any other questions regarding the transportation?
But did you answer the one, the pumping heat ride?
Yeah, so-
We already talked about it.
Yeah, so between Brunel and Bayless is scheduled in 2020.
No, between Bayless and Bayless. So,
Yeah, that's
okay,
between
sorry.
Bayless, all the way to the other,
Yeah.
and all
The
the
south
way
side, the south side,
so that would be 2020.
the end of 2020.
Well, it's scheduled just 2020, and it usually happens in the summertime, so depends on when they get to it, it's either gonna be the beginning of 2020, or towards the end. So
Is there a reason that you know why that southbound lane is so bad compared to the northbound? Is it bad construction
I-
early on?
I really don't know.
Okay.
There could be a lot of factors to it, so. All right.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming back.
Appreciate it.
Alright, so I'm here to talk about the Art Box project. And this was a project that began with the in the participatory budget process, but it didn't get any votes. And but now we have money from the from our Beautify San Jose grant. And we are going to paint 2 utility boxes. These are traffic control boxes. The first one is by the firehouse. It's that plain gray-white box.
Across from Jack in the Box.
So it's on the corner of Bernal and Via Serena. I met with the fire station people. We don't want to surprise them when suddenly, ta-da, the box is painted in front of them. And the paramedic on the B shift, Sal Gonzalez, is very interested in the project, and he's my contact. And he's collecting some ideas from me. Our goal with these is to have them be relevant to the context. So, in all probability, the box will be painted with something that bears a relation to the fire station and the environment it's at. And we've talked about that. And so, one idea is, vintage fire trucks running around the box, and there's a lot of different ideas that we have. They also mentioned, and I didn't know this, the fire station covers Coyote Valley, and they are very proud of being responsible for Coyote Valley. The firemen in the station took up a collection to get the word coyote painted on their truck, on their fire truck, because they're so proud of being responsible for Coyote Valley. And their patch has a coyote on it. Every fire station has a patch that they put on their uniforms, and theirs has a coyote on it. So fire station, fire trucks, vintage, modern, coyotes, Coyote Valley, these are all possibilities that would be appropriate to the context of that box. My personal goal is to somehow have a Dalmatian be included. But no. So I'll get to the process in a minute. The process is ongoing, but it's not instantaneous. So the other one is on Avenida España, opposite or in front of Martin Murphy School. So in that case, the school is the obvious point of reference for selecting artwork. And we have a list of ideas that would relate to schools, kids going to school, athletics. So they gave me a list of the various athletic games that the Martin Murphy students participate in: volleyball, soccer, et cetera, et cetera. Another possibility is just the valley and hills. But an interesting one is that the Mustang is the logo of their team. They are the Mustangs. And we can't put actually a logo on it, but my personal idea that will go on the list for suggestions is horses running free in the valley. Like wild, as if wild horses were running down the valley. But the process is that we have to work with a city, the city's art committee, and a person designated by the city's art committee to work with this. And it has to go through a city bureaucracy. And the city bureaucracy just got a little more stringent, partly because the city is putting more grant money out that is going into these things. So more and more of these are being paid for effectively by the city And so the city is putting more structure around it. So the artist has to sign a contract, it has to prove insurance and stuff like that. And the person who was running the program has resigned and turned it over to another person on the art committee. So there is a person who is designated for being responsible for the program, but it's a new person. So I have to start over again with a new person. We're at the point of being ready to select an artist. And you're welcome to submit it, but it's got to go through the art committee.
Okay,
And it has to be a professional artist who can prove insurance and that kind of thing. And preferably someone who's done an art box before.
Okay, I'll talk to me.
So you can talk to me after and give me the name. Because that's the next thing is to select the artist. We're also soliciting anybody who has any more ideas for the boxes we're very interested in. But ultimately, we will negotiate with the artist on a concept, but the artist has the final control. We can't just say we want exactly this and this and we want it to look this way, whatever, because you don't get the artist's best work that way, and that's not the way the program works. So when you engage the artist, you have to give the artist some artistic freedom to come up with a design. And then ultimately you agree on the design and it goes forward. There is some opportunity for community involvement in terms of preparing the boxes. They have to be scraped and primed, etc. And we'll be looking for community volunteers to do that. They also want the community to monitor the boxes after they've been painted for graffiti and damage, and so we'll want to recruit some people to keep their eyes on the boxes and let the appropriate authorities know if there's damage or graffiti. Did you have another question?
I was just saying this, I know they have, at some schools, they put the, like UCLA, they'll put the names of the colleges, like maybe like logos on the boxes, like.
Well, we've been told that we wouldn't be able to put the school's logo or the school's name on the box.
No.
So it can be, the box can reference it, but there are limitations in terms of what you can put on it.
Okay.
You can't use someone else's logo or image.
Yeah.
It gets a little complicated.
Okay.
All right, so if you want to talk to me later, you can. So, as I said, we're in the process of selecting the artist, but I need to work with a new person to do that. We'd hoped to have this done in June. I don't think it's going to happen in June. I think it's going to be later than that.
Welcome to the city of San Jose.
Yes.
It's happened to me twice already.
So anybody who's interested in being involved or wants to have ideas or be involved as a volunteer when we get around to prepping the boxes, please get in touch with me. I'm sitting at the table. Okay, thanks.
Hold on a second, I'll be right back. Okay, on our last agenda item, we have Jacquie Heffner here. Thank you, Jacquie, for coming. She's been working tirelessly, I've known, to try to understand the nuts and bolts of many things affecting our area, in particular things related to housing and open space. And tonight she's going to present her views on this subject. And I'd like to let you know that LPNA is not permitted to take a position on any item based on our bylaws. So we appreciate her coming and sharing her views on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Craig.
I'll get this going for you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Just to give you a little background, I've lived in San Jose for, 37 years, born and raised in San Francisco. So I've been in the Bay Area and coming down to this area for a long time. I am actually a volunteer with the No One Beat campaign, and you look familiar, I see you. And I'm here tonight, if for no other reason, because I'm really mad. And I'm mad because we are being lied to. Flat out lied to. I have done this presentation with the gentleman who represents the Yes on B side, and I cannot tell you how many things I've had to correct him on, and he's had no answer to it. So, I know if you're like me, you have been getting mail. Is that not correct? And, you bring it up. So, this is all the mail that we've been getting on Measure B. The mail like, against C, and join these people, okay? Join them. Do these look like wealthy people? When you look at this, what does it tell you, huh? What are you seeing there? You're seeing people who need help. They have a big one with a veteran. Let's get housing for the veterans. Affordable housing. Let's do this. And when that doesn't work, then they're throwing out, it's going to be green. It's going to do, this development's going to do everything, including curing bulbs. That's not the reality. It's a big scam. And I'm going to kind of share that quickly with you. So who is against Measure B? Well, in this room, okay, but these are all the people locally and organizations that have come out and taken a position on Measure B. One of the most important ones is AARP. That was not a local AARP, that's the national AARP. And the reason they came out against it, the Yes on B people said, quote, well, they never talked to us. They didn't have to. 300 pages is what this initiative is.
367.
Yeah, 367 pages. 300, that's like almost a ream of paper. And AARP read the document, like anybody in here can. You can read it, and AARP has smart people, and they realize that it was very bad for us. The Mercury News, if you need, people I can have you take one and pass it around. The editorial that came out from the Mercury News basically points out everything I'm going to go over tonight. And you can see this is, and I'll tell you something that's real interesting. When's the last time you ever saw the Democratic and Republican parties agree on anything?
Jackie, make this easy for me, because I see this as a voter. I say no on all of it, okay?
That's fine.
It's housing. It's about housing, developers. What is the main topic here? This is all great, but I want to know, I'm going to vote no on all of them. And that means nothing happens, right?
Well, yeah, and that's fine.
Oh, yes, well, why?
Well, you know what? I'm happy with no on B. Look, how many of you like Coyote Valley the way it is?
About that.
Okay.